In this lesson, you're going to be looking at simple interest. First, we're going to define what interest is. Interest can be either the amount of money that we get paid for lending or investing money. Interest can also be money we pay for borrowing money. Okay, first we're going to define the principal, and that's the amount of money we deposit or borrow. The interest rate will be a percent, but we're going to write it as a decimal. For example, 6%, we'll use 0.06. 0.2% would be 0.002%. Oh, sorry about that, no percent on the end there. If we had something like 4.5%, that's 0.045. So to get from that percent to the decimal again, we are going to divide by 100. All right, time is calculated per year, so it's annually. So time will be in years. If we're looking at 6 months, that's 1/2 of a year. If we're looking at 1 quarter, that's 0.25 of a year, etc. Okay, the simple interest formula we're going to use is I equals P times R times T. And we'll also be defining future value. This formula first is the formula we use if we're only interested in finding the interest. So this gives the interest only. This next formula is going to tell you what we call the future value. And the future value is A equals P times 1 plus RT. So this future value A is the new piece here that we don't know about. What is A? Well, it's going to be the amount in the account after the number of years have passed, or it's going to be the total that you're borrowing. So it's the principal with the interest. So this A is the amount in the account after time T. So it could be the amount that you borrowed in total or the amount that you invested in total. So it's the principal with the interest. We call that the future value. All right. So some questions have you find the interest first and then the future value. Others will say find the future value first and then find the interest. So let's do our first example. Person invests $1,000 in a savings account for 5 years that pays a simple interest rate of 1.5%. We're going to go through and identify everything first. The invested amount, that's your principal, P. There's your time. And the rate is 1.5%, 0.015. They want the interest. So I can do I equals PRT. And so that's $1,000 times 0.015 times 5. Run that through your calculator. and that's 75. Okay, I'm going to double check that. Make sure I have that right. All right, so there's the interest. Future value can be found two ways. So I'm going to split my region here in half. I can use this formula up above. I'll have A equals P, which was 1,000, times 1 plus the rate, 0.015, and then times time, which is 5. All right, if you run that through your calculator, you'll have 1,000 times, and then you will need to put in the parentheses, 1 plus 0.015 times 5, and then close your parentheses. And you'll get a total of 1,075. So that's how you can get your future value using the formula. The other way to get your future value is to simply take your principal plus your interest. Your principal was 1,000, your interest was 75, your total 1,075. Okay. Here's another one for you to try. I'm going to leave this one blank for you and let you work it out on your own. And then you can go back to OneNote and see if you have it correct. I will caution you, though, this one, the time is in 10 weeks. So here's what we're going to do with that. Remember, time has to be in terms of years. So if time is 10 weeks, there's 52 weeks in a year. So what we're going to do is do 10 divided by 52 to get how much of a year that is. So this is what you're going to be using for your time. All right, 10 out of 52. You can reduce that first if you want, or you can leave it the way it is. But you will not be using 10 for your time. It's got to be in terms of years. So we divide that by 52. All right, here's another one for you to try. This one, the time is 90 days. So we're going to take 90 divided by how many days are in a year? 365. And that's what you're going to use for your time. Time always has to be in terms of years. So I'm going to let you try those two, and then you can come back and check against the notes that are on OneNote. They'll be completed there. All right. The other type of problem you're going to have is where you're finding the present value. So up until now, we've been finding A, which is the future value. What if you want to know how much to deposit or how much you need to borrow? Then we need to use a different formula. If I take the formula from before and I work on solving it for P, I'll have my new formula. To solve it for P, I'm going to divide both sides by 1 plus RT. These divide out, and P equals A divided by 1 plus RT. Okay. There's a rounding rule for finding present value. Anytime you're finding P, you're going to add a penny to your answer. This is called rounding up to the nearest cent. All right, we'll know to use this new formula when it says to find the present value. So we're going to find the present value that must be invested to get $6,200 back after 5 years. So this is your A, there's your time, and our interest rate is 1.5%. All right, so it says to take A, divided by 1 plus R 0.015 times time, which is 5. And let me rewrite that just a little bit. Okay, with your calculator here, you need to be really careful. You're going to have to put parentheses around this as you enter it in your calculator. Your other option would be to figure out your denominator first and write it down. So 1 plus 0.015 times 5 is 1.075, and then do the division in your calculator. And we get approximately $5,767.44. Okay, I'll do this last one with you. Find the present value. We're going to find P. We want to end up with $2,500, so that's on top. And then after 5 years at a rate of 3.5%. Notice all of our problems today do say simple interest, which is important. In the next lesson, we'll do compound interest. All right, our denominator then is 1 plus our rate times 5. All right, so that's 2,500 divided by 1.175. Again, if you're doing this with your calculator in one step, you have to have those parentheses around your denominator. Otherwise, it will likely give you an incorrect answer. All right, the amount that you need to invest is, oh, you guys, I just realized I made a mistake in the previous problem. I'll go back and fix it in a minute. I had said earlier we need to round up on all of these, and I sure forgot to do that. So on this one, that should be a 45. If you go back and divide, you'll get 5767.44. We round up to the nearest cent, that becomes a 45. So please correct that on your notes as well. This last one, 2,500 divided by 1.175 is going to automatically round to 66. If you follow the rules of rounding or whatever, it's still 66. So that one we won't need to add the extra penny, but the one before we will. Again, we can talk more about that on Wednesday if you're confused, but that's the end of the notes. The shell is available on the link in Canvas in the announcements, and I'll post this video in those announcements and also in Module 1.